Thanks, guys. Great cast on the night, by the way. I am joined by Pobelter after that 2-1 victory and very, very solid play at the end there. Now, before the match, we heard a little bit about some overconfidence you guys were talking about. Well, seems like you got over it over the course of that game.
Yeah, I think some of the issues we were having last split were related to overconfidence, but our loss in the playoffs really humbled us, and we realized that we need to kind of expand the sort of strategies that we're playing, treat practice, treat stage games more seriously. And so I think this split is going obviously a bit more rough than last split where we were just tearing through everyone, but I'm still a lot more confident in how we're going to play towards the end than I did last split.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Now, to follow up on that a little bit, last split you guys were 17-1, and now you've already dropped 2 games in the first 2 weeks. How does that feel?
Indifferent. I mean, because we drop games all the time in practice, right? So, yeah. But overall, I believe our record on the standings is shown as 3-0 rather than our total game record. So I think we're still undefeated so far in that sense. So still holding on to that.
Yeah, technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. And now to talk a little bit more about that, do you think the change to best of threes might have had anything to do with that?
Yeah, I think we're showing a bit more confidence in trying different strategies. Maybe champions were not as comfortable as playing. Last split, we were sort of running the same strategy every game, which was like level 3 or level 4 getting top lane, and Huni's just going to 1v5 the game sort of deal. And it kept working because we were really good at it, but this time around, we're trying some different strategies. Huni's finally playing tank sometimes. I'm not playing Lux every game, so it's really good, actually.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Now, one final question for you. You've got one best of 3 tomorrow against the only team to have defeated Immortals in a best of series, TSM. Got any thoughts?
TSM's looking really crisp after their boot camp in Korea. I think that Biofrost fits in really well with the team. And overall, even though they're looking more coordinated than we are, I guess, I don't believe that they dropped a game the first weekend. I think it's going to be a close set.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to see that in action. Pobelter, thank you so much. Congratulations on the 2-1. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk to break that down.
Thank you very much, Dom. I, too, am looking forward to that series tomorrow between Immortals and TSM.
Sunday.
Is it Sunday?
I think so.
Okay. But now we've just misled the viewers. We'll figure that out at the end of the day. Yeah. Regardless, before we get to that series, we got to break down this series between NRG and Immortals. Immortals do come out on top, winning their second game 2-1 against NRG. This one, again, relatively consistent in terms of establishing an early lead. Huni picking up a lead in that top lane, and then for him this time around really being able to apply that side lane pressure on the Aurelia.
Yeah, like I have to give a lot of credit to Santorin, honestly. He was doing a lot of work in the early game. He was getting his lanes ahead, but then they were really doing nothing with it. Like, you know, we're saying Huni got a lead for himself, but this was after he got first blooded by Santorin. Again. He got first blooded again, and then you look at the lane, and Quas is already losing, and it's a situation where I think that Quas wasn't really managing the waves that well. He's putting himself in these positions where he can get run down. He's not allowing the wave to reset and repeat gank this guy, because when you actually, you know, kill off their top laner and you get his flash, this should be a really easy repeat gank. We had that one failed gank where they came down, he TP'd right back. They tried to kind of like 2v1 him, but it was in all the minions. He took so much minion damage, ended up dying, went into early for Santorin, and the lane kind of went disaster after that.
Absolutely. So good on Huni there to kind of create that lead for himself in the face of the pressure from Santorin. You know, if we move across the map during this game for Immortals, it just seemed like that Anivia as well as the Caitlyn traps and the Zyra gave them a lot more of an ability to kind of create the fights, the landscape of fights that they wanted. Whereas GBM on the other side was kind of that one-man army doing everything he could on the Vladimir that he has carried with prior. Not quite enough this time around.
Yeah, this game started out with, you know, lane advantages for Immortals, which they're used to getting, but this time around they drafted a really secure mid-game transition here. It's so annoying. If you have a Zyra, Anivia, and Caitlyn traps all to deal with to try and get a lead back, like, you know you got to make a play.
Right.
You got to make a play dodging 6 traps, 4 plants, and Anivia Wall's just going to pop out of nowhere. It's just that's so solid of a siege comp, and they were actually able to utilize it this time. Like you said, in the side lane, Huni created the pressure, so then they got to draw across the map as well.
Yeah, that 4-1 split, the inability to kind of break the siege that was put on. We did see, to NRG's credit, we did see them try and find a couple inventive ways of getting through it, right? Either running straight through it, having GBM flank. Unfortunately, didn't work out. The warding for Immortals was there so that they saw it in time. They could kind of react to it properly. Moving away from, or rather before we move away from the game, let's award the player of the game. That's going to Huni this time around. On this Aurelia, really did establish a lead in that side lane. 6.1k gold over Quas at the end of the game. That is nuts when it comes to differentiation in items.
Yeah, I mean, he played this one really well. I still like that he's got that Huni flavor to it, though, where he makes a couple plays where you're like, oh, he's getting real, his eyes get real big, he's going super deep, a little bit too much, but he keeps it at a very high pace.
Yeah, he's very, very aggressive, creates his own advantages, which is something that cannot be overstated. You know, it's one thing to be able to extend a lead. He creates his own leads in disadvantageous situations, and that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's take a step back and look at the whole series, because I do want to talk about NRG and the improvements that they've made, but also areas in which they still need to pick up the slack. So major things for me here is that Santorin did apply a lot more pressure in this week, helping out Quas. I mean, Quas isn't necessarily turning it into any other further advantages, but very good to see him put some pressure into lanes as opposed rather to sticking back and farming the jungle the whole game.
Yeah, I think for Santorin, he had some really good improvements, and he almost had too many successes. Like, he had successful ganks top and bottom, and he was just kind of all over the map trying to make things right everywhere because he's trying to fix all of these lane situations.
There's too many leaks. You can't repair them all.
Yeah, but sometimes...
He's only got 10 fingers.
What happens when you do that as a jungler is you're going to lose control of your quadrant of the jungle. Like, you kind of have to elect an area to focus on so that you can return to that area, you can farm also. So what happened was he was ganking a whole bunch, fixing everywhere, and then he would lose out. Reignover would come take that Reignover tax. That's going to cost you 2 camps, you gank down there. It's going to cost you a couple more camps, you gank again. And it's just, it's hard to do that as a jungler.
Right, yeah, 20 minutes in, we did see a 30 CS. In this most recent game, we saw a 30 CS lead from Reignover. And when that is jungle camps, that's a significant amount of gold that was contributing to Immortals' advantages there. Now let's look at the areas in which NRG needs to pick up the slack. I think Quas has been a point of criticism for them. What else, Azale, are you looking at for this NRG roster to continue to work throughout the split?
I think a lot of it just comes down to really working well together as a team. I think one of the biggest differences this game, NRG looked a lot better, first of all, but I think just their wave control, their map movements, they're not as good at that as a team like Immortals. They seem to kind of lose control of winning lanes a fair bit, which I think is a little bit inexperience, a little bit of miscommunication, not knowing where people should be at the right times and stuff. They're missing waves. They're not bouncing them properly, things like that. And these little things add up to big differences.
Yeah, I think that the improvements that we expect from NRG are things that you would expect from a team that just got put together. You know, they just reorganized and they're looking up already. So I think that is a good sign.
Yeah,
Oku also looked really good. I think today he looked really good.
All right, there you go. To use a word from Pobelter, not looking quite as crisp as, say, some of the top tier teams. Looking for them to get there.
Said you were going to use it.
I did. I said I was going to use it, and I did it. I got it in there. Now,
A little crunchy.
all right. So Series 1 out of the way here tonight. Now let's focus in on the next matchup that we're going to see. That's Apex versus Team Envy. Our other two teams that are sitting at that 2-0 are two new teams coming in hot. But one of them's got to fall tonight. So as we look at this, I know we've already talked a lot about the top lane, but let's start there. Seraph and Ray. I mean, this is a sweet matchup between the two of these guys.
It's going to be really exciting, especially Seraph, I think, is someone you have to worry about a lot because, like Kobe talked about earlier, champion diversity is insane. How do you ban that? With Ray, it's a little bit more cut and dry. You can be like, okay, well, most of his success came on the Fizz. Let's get that out of there. If your top laner is a lot more flexible, you can actually focus top lane bans if that's something that you're worried about and still have Seraph on something he's happy playing.
And the extra wrinkle in this, Seraph does a lot of shot calling for all of the teams he's ever been on. Even when he's substituted into the LCS, he did shot calling for the team he's subbing for.
Right.
So if there's a top lane shot caller and they know that they've been watching games where Apex focuses a lot on, you know, getting buffs for Ray and focusing on Ray, how is Seraph going to handle that as, you know, a shot caller and a big carry for for the team.
Yeah, I mean, they have some time to actually have studied each other now. So, you know, Apex, that was their first week in the LCS. They showed huge top line priority. If you can actually set that up, keep wards on the Rift Herald, if you can contest that, that can go tragic really fast because this is, you know, a powerful buff, but you take a lot of damage.
And it's really easy to interrupt people if they're on Rift Herald. It has so much life now. It's
Yeah, it
like
really does.
12,000 HP or something. It takes a long time to do. If you want to just wander over there, you can stop them pretty
The fact
easily.
that you have to dedicate 2 to 3 people, the amount of damage it deals to whoever's tanking it, absolutely absurd. Either way, we have to take a quick break. That concludes our coverage of Immortals versus NRG, but we've got more league action coming your way. When we return, Apex and Team Envy will face off in our second match of the night. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Been a great BO3 so far. Which of these teams are going to either pick up their third straight match win, or if NRG can finally get a win on the board? Quark's going to lock him up with Twisted Advance. Pop back there with the body slams. Enough for first blood. Santorin again. On it all. GBM going back in for. GBM's in the tower. He actually gets Pobelter.
You devil, GBM.
Taking damage a little too low. Does Twisted Advance away, but Adrian's going to collect credit for that kill. Now GBM going down as well.
Immortals stays undefeated in matches. They got better as the series progressed.